Hi guys, Juan here with the Colt Firm. Today we're going to talk about estimating. A lot of people don't understand this. Say, hey, I need a quick price. I need a price per square foot. How much will it cost to build my house? How much will it cost to build my house? The average price for America for a custom home build, the average cost across the board is around $428,000. That's across North America. So how much does it cost to build in America a new home for new home construction? From Florida to California, from New York to South Carolina to Texas to Michigan, you're looking at $428,000. Now, what's the square footage? We don't know. Now, in order to build a home, you're going to have to get a full-blown estimate to present it to the bank. So what is the process of estimation? What is the process of estimating all the costs? What does it cost to build my house? Well, that's pretty simple when you're doing maybe how much will it cost to do, say, my hair, right? That's a small ticket item. Small ticket items, under $100, no problemo. But when you're doing a big ticket item, so maybe the largest investment you've ever invested in your life, and you're building a dream home, it's not a small ticket item. It's a very large ticket item that has a lot of moving parts with a ton of ticket items in between. So we're going to go through the process of the pre-construction cost that goes into building home. Then we're going to go into site work costs and all the cost analysis, all the costs, the line items that you need to calculate that comes up to the total cost, what it costs to build your house. Okay, so the first and the pre-construction cost is what we call the pre-construction and development phase. This is basically your land review, okay, your property, your zoning, your setbacks, and the access to your property. The legal access, okay? That is the first one. Your survey, your boundaries means your topography survey, your site layout, basically where your home is gonna sit. If your home sits in a swamp, or if it sits on a hill, or it sits on a ridge, or it sits on the side of a ridge, or it sits on a flat ground, okay? Then you got your soil testing, okay? Determines basically your foundational needs, what type of foundation, if we need to bring in rock or dirt, how much rock, how much dirt. So say that we need to bring in 20 loads, and we do the calculation, and it costs $500 per load, okay, times 10 loads, that's $5,000. If you need to bring in 30 loads or 40 loads and so forth, we need a cost analysis of how much dirt. So design your plans. Your plans are everything, because the plans are going to lay out basically your material list, but you can't get your material list until you get your plans first. Does that make sense? So first it starts with plans. Engineering, structural engineering. Okay, you design plans, that's great, but in theory, is it going to work in reality of the materials you use? So the structural engineering basically covers your assets and protects your family, protects the builder, protects the family, and protects the bank. Okay, so because about I would say 95% of our clients are using financial loans, using the bank for their build. So you got to have design plans, your layout, that's great, the aesthetics, but structural engineering and mechanical engineering, which is your called MEPs, your mechanical, your electrical, your plumbing, is basically a breakdown of make sure your house doesn't burn down. Okay, so permits cost money. You can pull your own permits or get a licensed builder pull your permits, your septic, your driveway, your utility permits. Okay, so there's different type of permits for different type of zoning, and everything's based off of international building codes and regulations. Let's talk about estimating. Okay, now what is a full-blown budget estimate, takeoffs, material pricing, labor pricing? Okay, let's go to the first step. Well, after you get your plans completed and your engineering completed and your development, then we move into actual site visits and estimating. Okay, we're going to talk about clearing, dumpsters, fuel, erosion control, right? Tree removal, grading. That's one line item. Okay, is that going to cost you $5,000, $10,000, $20,000? We don't know. We need to get an erosion. We need to get a clearing and grading crew there to do that estimate. Excavation. Okay, gravel, stone. You got your fill dirt, there's another line item. Then your driveway, how much is it going to cost to do your driveway? You might have concrete, you might have asphalt. How much is that going to cost? How wide is your driveway? How long is your driveway? Do we do clearing? Do we need to grade it? Okay. How much is it going to cost for to install the crew to go there and do it? There's another line item. Okay. Now piping, utilities, right? Wire, meter. How much it costs to pull power to your property? How much money is it going to cost to bring water to dig a well? $5,000, $15,000, $30,000? There's another line item. Septic, well, tank, drain, field, your pump, right? Your well, the materials. Is that going to cost $7,000, $8,000, $10,000? There's another line item. So when people ask, how much does it cost to build my house? We're just starting, guys. Just starting. This is what it takes. All right, now we're gonna get into foundation based off the plans. We're going back to the plans. The subcontractor's gonna look at the plans. All right, the concrete crew is gonna look at the plans, the structural plans, right? How much PSI, how thick that concrete needs to be. They're gonna look at the footings, how thick the rebar needs to be according to international building codes and regulation, the forms, the layout, the digging, forming the pour out, right? All based off the plans. Your slab, your concrete, your vapor barrier, your wire mesh, your rebar, your prep, your pour, your finish, all based off the plans. Your stem wall, are you gonna put a stem wall on? Your cross space system, okay? Is it gonna be slab on grade, or are you gonna have a cross space system? All goes back to the plans and the structural engineering in the planning development phase 1, okay? How much money is it gonna cost for your anchor bolts? Are you gonna use anchor bolts? Are you gonna use wet sets? Are you gonna use plates or hardware? What type of hardware, okay? When it comes to inspections, it has to be inspected, right? How much is your labor cost for that? How much is your material cost for that? It all goes back to your plans, because we're going off the architectural and structural engineering of your plans. Your mechanical plans, your load capacity, your collateral loads, right? Let's talk about a structural cell, doing barndominium, steel buildings, red iron buildings, cold form buildings, tubular buildings. Go back to the bones of the build, right? So, wood framing. When you attach wood framing to steel, that adds more pressure to the load of the concrete. It means you got to pour more concrete, which costs you more money. How much weight is your lumber going to cost? How much weight and what's it cost your lumber? What's your lumber package? What's your sheathing package? What's your truss package? Nails and connections. How much are you going to spend on nails? How much labor cost are you going to spend on framing? Is it going to be $5 a square foot? Is it going to be $10 a square foot? How do you know your square footage unless you go back to the plans? Okay, your cold form steel building, is it going to be a bolt up? Is it going to be a light gauge cold form? Is it going to be pre-panelized systems? Is it going to be 22 foot high? Going to be 12 foot eave height? Are you going to have downspouts? Are you going to have gutters? Are you going to run red iron? Are you going to run big columns, beams? I mean, how many purlings are you going to have? How many girts are you going to have? This is what we do all the estimating based off the plans. All right, your steel erection crew. Okay, you got the building there. It's on the ground. Now you got to put it up. Who's going to put it up? Are they licensed? Are they insured? Do they have experience doing this? Are they reputable? Are they reliable? Are they consistent? The barndominium shell, you have metal framing, the metal roofing. Are you going to run 26 gauge PBR? Are you going to run 29? Are you going to run standing roof system? Standing roof system is a lot more money, but it's a lot better roof than a 20 gauge PBR. But do you need a 26 gauge PBR or a standing roof if you're going to spray foam it? Are you going to, when you do installation, are you going to run a 4-inch installation on spray foam, or are you going to do sag and bag? Okay. When it comes to metal, and are you going to run internal metal framing, or are you going to run internal wood framing? We got to go over roof panels. We got to go over your wall panels, right? We got to go over your trim. What color is your trim? Your downspouts, the color of your sheathing, the color of your roofing. Are you going to have overhangs? Are you going to have 12-inch overhangs, no overhangs? Or are you going to have 24-inch overhangs? Okay. All right. Now that we've gotten through that portion, there's also what we call steel packages. We'll put your steel package in the material list. That's one price, that's a product, that's a materialist. Then we have your freight. Then we got the equipment rental, because you got to rent the equipment. That can cost 10, 12, 15, 20,000, $30,000 equipment rental. Okay. Then you got your insulation, because it costs more money to put insulation on the building, right? Now every door and every window to install, that costs money. You can spend $500 per door, per window to install, just to install the door and window. That's not including the door and window package. We're gonna get through that. We have to work through that. Then we got our finish out, right? The finishes. All right, so now we're done with the foundation, the clearing, the grading, the septic, the well, the permitting, line items. Then we're done with now the shell, the materials, and steel erection quote, and the numbers. Now we're gonna work through another phase, the dry-in. This is why it takes a month to get a full-blown estimate on a big ticket item, because there's a lot of moving parts. It's not just a small ticket item, okay? That's why when people go buy homes, they're not asking how much all this costs. They're just gonna go buy one ticket item, call it a day. But when you're building a home from scratch, these are all the layers that you're going through, okay? Exterior dry-in, okay? So your roofing, you got your shingles, your metal panels, your underlayment, okay? Your roofing crew, you got your siding, you can do vinyl, you can do metal, you can do hardy board, you can do brick, you can do stone. You got the material costs, you got the labor costs for that, okay? Your windows, your flashings, your sealants, you can do big windows, you can do small windows. You can do double pane windows. Then you got installation, your installation fees and your material fees. Then you got your exterior door fees, your doors, how much your doors cost, and then you got to install your doors. Then you got your gutters, buy your gutters. Then someone's got to put the gutters up. Then you got the insulation, right? You might do spray foam. You got the materials for the insulation. You got to install the insulation. All right, we're done with that phase. Not even close to getting done. All right, so we got your mechanical, your electrical, and your plumbing. So we got your plumbing. Are you gonna run PEX? That's one material type. Are you gonna run PVC? Are you gonna run copper? Are we gonna do drains, fixtures, water heater system? Your plumbing system, I'm gonna do your rough-in plumbing, and then we got your finishing, your finish out, right? You got your product, your material cost, and you got your labor cost. Electrical, your wiring, your paneling, your breakers, your outlets, your lights, and then you got your labor cost. That's your electrical portion package, right? Now we got our HVAC package, or we're gonna run ductwork, units, vents, mini splits, central air and heat. We gotta figure that. We're gonna run thermostats, which unit we're gonna run, but it all goes back to how much materials, how do we know how much materials, how much labor cost this is gonna cost us? Well, where are the plans? All right, how are we gonna know how much material for plumbing or electrical or labor costs? Where are the plans? Okay, how much is my house gonna cost? Starts with the plans. Because all the subcontractors underneath the general contractors here, they orchestrate the entire build, and then every subcontractor has a line item. And the general contractor in the development group and the development package, you're gonna line up all these line items. Then you wanna pick out colors. And we gotta pick out flooring types. And we're gonna pick out appliances, okay? They all fall underneath the general contractor and development group, design. So design is one little portion, engineering portion, but the general contractor and the builder is in control of all these moving parts, okay? And the developer is overseeing the vision of the project. The builder is executing all this as a team member. So when you look at the scope of the work, and you look at the team, on myself, I'm the developer, is the vision. The builder comes in and executes the vision. But the developer puts the designer in place, they put the engineer in place, they put the builder in place, then you have the subcontractors come in place. So we do everything. We're a one-stop shop here with a cold firm. And that's where a lot of people have a lot of problems, because this can be very confusing. And let me not make, this is not an elementary process. This is a very complicated process. People try to sell it to you as it is simplistic. And in theory it is, but in reality, in the field, it is not. That's why it takes a lot of licensing. And we encourage you guys to do your research, because we like to help people through the process, okay? Now, we talked about low voltage. You got your internet, your cameras, your speaker systems, your security systems. That pulls a lot of power. So we got to determine how much power you're pulling throughout the house, okay? So your MEP cost and your mechanical plan on this, and mechanical, they have an MEP engineer that will see how much voltage, how much power you're pulling through your home, right? You got your energy calculations as well. That's another phase. How thick your insulation needs to be, so that we make sure you keep your house warm in the winters and cool in the summers. Now we move on to another phase. Interior build out, okay? You got your framing walls, your lumber, you might be running steel studs, your fasteners, your framing crew costs. So you got your material costs for framing, and then you got your labor costs for interior framing. Insulation, okay? You might be, you might want sag and bag or bat or spray foam or blow insulation. Blow insulation is the most cost effective, is the cheapest. Spray insulation is the best insulation. Has the best energy efficiency, longevity. It is the best, okay? Especially for steel buildings. By far, hands down, closed cell spray foam is the best, okay? I don't care what anybody's selling you. We don't care. We're not married to spray, or we're not married to blow. We just go with what we know what's best. Spray is commercial. Anybody will tell you that. But what's most cost effective? Blow. Traditional insulation, what it looks like cotton candy. That's the most cost effective. Pros and cons, right? At the end of the day, all matters is it meeting code? Is it R28 or is it R30? Does it meet code? Will it keep your house warm or will it keep your house cold? And there's pros and cons. One has, you pay more money up front, but you get better efficiency in the next 10 to 20, 30 years. So yes, spray is better long term. Does it cost more money up front? Absolutely. It's like 3 times more. But over time, it adds rigidity to the building, strengthens the building, and hardens up the shell. So now you're sealing the envelope with no air gaps, because air going in and out of your building, that's where you lose your energy efficiency. So you know that. Air is what will kill you gotta seal the envelope basically. So spray is key, okay? Now we're gonna move to, all right, we talk about insulation, drywall, okay? Gotta have a good drywall team, sheetrock, mud, tape, screws, hangers, fishers. You gotta have a labor cost for, you got sheetrock, but you also have to do the labor cost for it, okay? Painting, painters, you have to pay for the paint. You gotta pay for someone to paint it. Flooring, you gotta pay for the cost, how much it costs for flooring materials. How much money does it cost for a flooring crew to come in? You can pay a lot of money on flooring. You can spend $5,000 on a 5,000 square foot layout for materials. Or you can spend 100 times more than that just on materials. You can spend $100,000 just on materials. Some people say, I got a $400,000 budget and they're spending $150,000 on flooring. You have a lot of other things you have not considered. You have to be very educated when you're building a house and be very, very aware of how many line items that go into building that home, okay? Flooring, cabinets. Oh my goodness. People want to spend $50,000 on your cabinets with a $400,000 budget. It's not going to work. You can, but you're going to have a very, very tiny house. So you have to say if you only got one pool of money, you can't ask for all these other champagne or high-end line items when you only got a very small budget, okay? So cabinets, boxes, hardware, trim, and then you gotta install it. Do you want granite countertops? That's why people guys, building a house from scratch is not easy, okay? We'll go back to that. It's a very complicated process. It is. That's why just going and buying a house is so much easier. But a lot of times people go on the market and they can't find what they want. And when you go buy a house, when you have only so much inventory on the market, some people have a lifestyle. They don't want a traditional house in a neighborhood. They don't want to be with neighbors. They want to have a farm and they want to have an open floor plan. Can you build it cost effectively? Absolutely. Can you build it the way you want it and within your budget? Probably not. So you have to be aware of how much education you actually have in this field of study. If you're a physician goes to school for 8 years, 10 years, 20 years, be an expert in their field. A builder will spend 20 years, 30 years, 40 years in their field of study. And there's a lot of problems, and they have to find solutions and troubleshoot. So this is what happens. When people say they want to build their house, you have to be responsible for every single line item, every single inspection, every single screw that goes into that home. You are reliable when you say you want to be the builder, if you want to build your own home. That's why builders charge what they charge. Okay, this is why developers charge what they charge, because they are legally, financially responsible for every single aspect and every single flaw and every single success of a build. All right, countertops, granite, quartz, laminate, block. Sky's the limit. How much money do you want to spend? Some people, money's not an issue. We have clients that build $2, $3, $4, $5 million homes. We sometimes just do the shells for them. No problem. Money's not an issue. They want what they want. I was talking to one builder, he says, my client has a $20 million house. I'm like, who needs a $20 million house? He's like, I don't know. By the end of the day, he has change orders that are more than, he has a $400,000 change order just because he just didn't like the color. So you got clients out there that we build for, that we do sometimes just do the steel for. There's some clients who are just starting their first homes. They just want a 1,200 square foot home. We do everything, but it's the same process whether you're building a big home or a tiny home. It's the same process. For residential and commercial, it's even more complicated. Okay, more inspections, more code, more regulation, more inspections. It could be times, and then if you're building a school, even more complicated. If you're building a system where it's more for the public, you got load capacities. You know, you got fire hazards. I mean, it goes on, right? This is just for a residential home. Now you got trim, your baseboards, your crown, your casings, your doors. That's just materials. You gotta get your material, and you guys need to put your material costs aside, but how are you gonna know how much material you need unless you have a good set of clean and descriptive plans? Goes back to the plans. Everything's based off the plans. How much paint do we need? I don't know. Let me look at the plans. How much drywall do I need? I don't know. Let me look at the plans. How much insulation? I don't know. Let me look at the plans. How many, what's the size of the cabinets? Well, where they fit? I don't know. Let me look at the plans. What about your countertops? How big are, I don't know. Let me look at the plans. They always go back to the plans, okay? Now, fixtures, toilets, faucets, lights, appliances. Then you got your cost for labor. How much you need? I don't know. Let's go back to the plans, okay? Now, labor categories, you got your surveyor, your designer, your architect, your engineer, you got your site contractor, your concrete crews, your framers, your steel erectors, your roofers, your plumbers, you got your electricians, your HVAC crew, you got your insulators, you got your drywall crew, your painters, your flooring crew, you got your trim and carpenters, your cabinet, you got your cabinet and cabinet. Some guys just put in cabinets, that's all they do, and they're very good at it. They build cabinets and install them. They build them and install them. Some people just build them and they got install. People, all they do is install. That's the trade, that's all they do. Because there's so many moving parts, you have to be the expert in your field. That's why they call them trades. They're experts in those fields. So homeowners, so you understand, project managers, GCs oversee the entire project, but everybody has a specialty and they're the best at it. So like when you go to a doctor and you go to a hospital, you have a heart surgeon. A heart surgeon does not do brain surgery. A neurosurgeon doesn't do orthopedics. Everybody has a specialty. Nurse, there's different types of nurses, right? They're more generalists. They kind of Okay? And you got respiratory therapists, right? So everybody has a specialty, and they work as a team. So you have a medical team, medical unit, same thing with a general contracting group. As a team, well, as a baseball coach for years. You have a catcher, you have a pitcher, second baseman, you have a first baseman, you have a shortstop. Everybody plays a role on that team. If the catcher if they're in the middle of the game and the catcher runs over there and tries to play first base, and be chaos and stupidity. So that's what we try to avoid, is stupidity or ignorance. It's because everybody has a role in this team, and everybody's very good at it, and everybody is a respectable trade in what they do, because they've got years and years of consistency. They're not dumb. They're actually extremely smart, extremely proficient. So I think there's not enough respect for the trades, not enough respect for what people do in the construction world, because landscaping, there's an art to it. Everybody could be very, very good at whatever they do if they do enough time and energy or focus on that while they're on this earth, okay? Now, structural, foundational, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, your civil plans, that has a cost, that takes time, that's a service. Your clearing, your grading, your driveway, that's a service. Your structural shell, your roof systems, your water, your drain, your fixtures, what are your water drains, your drain field, okay? Your heating, your cooling, your power panels, your lighting, your energy envelope, okay? Going back to energy calculations, how much heat and air transfer, right? In and out of the home. Your flooring, your tiling, your doors, going back to that, your kitchen, how much money can you spend on the kitchen? You can spend thousands. Then you got your scheduling, your coordination, your customer service, your customer care, right? And you got your soft costs. You got hard costs and soft costs. Soft costs goes into basically your marketing, your financial costs, your insurance, your equipment rentals. It's things you don't really see, but you have to have them or you can't build nothing. Your inspection costs, your change orders, right? Change orders, anything. If you change your mind, it costs you money. Oh, I'm gonna change my mind. Oh, okay, how much? Every time you change your mind, it will cost you money. Every time you change your plans, it costs you money. Every time you change something in the field, it's 10 times more money. So realize this, homeowners, ladies, men, people, every time you change your mind, that's great. But in the construction world, you're writing another check every time you change your mind. So you save a ton of money when you change your mind in a planning development stage. You'll save thousands there. Change your mind there. Don't. Every time you change your mind in the field, every time you think something's screwed up, $20,000 check. You have to write that check out. There's a lot of hair appointments. There's a lot of nails. There's a lot of golf clubs. So just know, change orders are not cheap, even residential or commercial. Okay? You got your GC fee. So general contractor, why does a general contractor make 20, 30%? Because he has to be in coordination and control every single aspect of this. So if anything goes wrong, the insurance, it falls on us, okay, as a team. Interest, inspections, draw fees, builder risk insurance, liability, right? Telehandlers, lifts, skid steers, cranes. Something goes wrong, a crane goes down on a house. Whose fault is that? Well, if you're the homeowner, your building is yours. But if we're building it and it's on our insurance and we have our license online, that's on us. So when people say, I want to build my own house, things happen all the time. We're human. We live in a human world, and this is a process. It's not just a small process. It's very expensive. A lot of moving parts can go, this many moving parts, a lot of things can go wrong real fast. Even if people are good at what they do, things still happen. So the risk versus reward, just make sure you know what you're getting yourself into, okay? You got client, so you got your foundation, your framing, etc. Sometimes you miss stuff. And every time you say you want to do a change order, you're looking at sometimes 5 to 15%. You bake in there because you might miss things that might cost you more money. So just going back to this, how much does it cost to build my house? Can you give me a quick quote on how much it's going to cost to build my house? I don't know. Haven't seen the property. I've got a set of plans. You're giving me a generic question. I'm going to give you a generic answer. $150 per square foot plus. Average, easy. How much does it cost to build my house, my barndominium? We're not a spec home builder. We don't just say, here you go. Every piece of land is different. Every driveway is different. Every home is different. How much it costs them to build Sarasota, Florida, Michigan, Indiana? What are your plans? Okay. I want an estimate, but I want plans, but I don't want to pay for it. That's not how this works. Everything has a process. Everyone in this field is a professional. Everybody in this field is, this takes a lot of labor costs. So what I'm trying to do is explain this to you so you guys understand, why am I paying this much money? Because this is how much time, how much energy that goes into designing these plans. There's so much importance in this. How can we save this client money? How can we fulfill their budget needs? How can we execute this in time? How can we put this on schedule? So I got 1,000 things in my mind when you're talking to me and we're on the phone and I'm processing. I'm like, do they know what they're getting themselves into? Do they understand the process? Don't throw me numbers. Do they have the awareness, the self-awareness of going into this? Do they have the proper ego in going into this? Because I'm telling you, ego in this field, because we sign contracts, everybody, all the trades sign contracts. And everyone knows how things go. And I'm telling you guys, the most cost-effective way to build is just buy something that's old and on the market. But if you want to build something ground up, find a great builder. We're great at steel. We're great at steel erection. We're great with concrete. And we partner with some great builders to do the finish outs because there's so much that goes into this. So I assemble a great team to execute a build for you guys. But it takes a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of focus. So when we design plans, it is a process. You might be in a planning development stage for 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months before it's called a soft cost, before we get into the estimating phase that we just went through. Because that will take 30 to 60 days. I'm getting these numbers back. And as soon as you get in, those numbers are good for 30 days. They're not good for 2-3 years. They're not good for a year. They're not even good for 6 months. Because you guys have seen the gas prices go up and down, up and down. So that's where we're at in the building industry. And so you guys know, so full transparency, this is the process. This is why we charge what we charge for the planning and development stages. It's a very serious process. When you get ready to engage in this process, if you're spending $400,000 and if your plans are done right, it can cost you tons of money in the field. So we've got to make sure we dial it in on the plan and design, make sure the budget fits the plans fit the budget, and make sure that we're within the ballpark. And then we really don't know until we get into it because we do custom. Everything we do is custom. So when a client asks for something, I'm not a spec home builder. I'm like, here's 3 floor plans, we build those. It's not what we do. We specialize in clients that want what they want. But we have to all meet the bank standards, your standards, federal standards, state standards, your expectations, wife's expectations, husband's expectations, timelines. Then we got weather. Things happen in the field. We got rain, delays. Sometimes subcontractors don't show up. They're not reliable. We're trying to avoid that at all costs, right? So, guys, at the end of the day, my name's Juan. I'm with the Colt firm. And we would love to serve you guys in the process of building your barndominium custom home. And I want to break this down very clear and transparent. We're a veteran-owned, faith-based company. We're a Christian-based company. I was a military chaplain for 15 and a half years, Army and Navy. So at the end of the day, I'm going to be fully transparent with the process so that you guys know, and we will put you with great builders, and great designers, great engineers, great electricians, great plumbers, and make sure everything's done by the book. Okay? Guys, God bless you. Check us on the web at coltfirm.com, and we'll look forward to serving you. Have a great one.